What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp here for the Wrestling Inc. podcast, brought to you by ddpyoga.com/Wrestling Inc. and trendybutler.com. Use coupon code Wrestling10, all caps over there. I am here with Rob McCarron on this beautiful April the 7th. Rob, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing very well. I saw some of the key things about this Smackdown. You know, we did a pretty exciting show yesterday, so if you missed the Wednesday show, go back and listen to it. None of it, I don't think, is out of date. So go back and listen to that. But tonight, I am doing quite well here. The Reds won today. Hooray. And it's freezing cold
3-0.
outside. So they are 3-0. They had the minor league baseball team known as the Phillies as opponents, so I'm not going to get too excited.
Who cares?
They beat a AA team, let's be real. They beat a team that, is not very good. But it's okay. It's early yet.
They weren't beating anybody last year. Well, they did beat the Phillies last year, so there's that.
Everyone beats the Phillies. It's amazing. I mean, you look at Mark Appel, former #1 pick, couldn't make the Astros, can't even make the minor league team that is the Phillies. There's a lot of chaos in the Philly system. But yeah, I'm doing very well today. I'm looking forward to these 30-degree temperatures going away, though, here as we enter the mid-April season.
Well, we had Smackdown tonight. We had Wrestling Inc. breaking a few little news tidbits, things throughout the week. We'll talk about those. Blackjack Mulligan passed away. The payback card is forming. What do you think of the Roman Reigns direction the last week on the show? We got some spoilers, and it looked like it was going. There were things on the spoilers that didn't happen tonight, which was Roman Reigns showing up and shaking AJ Styles' hand after his match. But what did you think of the Roman Reigns direction?
It tells me that not necessarily that happened or not, but what they decide they want to put on television and what they want this character direction to be. So it really looks like they're going to take a hands-on approach and make sure they get it exactly right. You never know until it happens on Raw. It doesn't matter unless it happens on Raw. It didn't actually happen. So we're going to see with this Roman Reigns character, but it looks like they're trying to push him as kind of a tweener, whether that's just for this AJ Styles match coming up, if that happens indeed at Payback, or if it's a long-term direction and maybe they're going to let the fans decide really, truly, now that he has this long title reign, what they want him to be. But I love it right now for AJ Styles. I mean, if you want people to go and be invested in AJ Styles versus Roman Reigns, you want them to cheer on AJ Styles and kind of boo this corporate champion that Roman Reigns is. So I'm interested in the direction. I think it's the best way to go to get people who are normally not interested in Roman to get interested in Roman. The fans he had are always going to be there. They're going to keep cheering Roman just like every ardent supporter of John Cena cheers John Cena. They're not going anywhere. What you want to do right now is get those who weren't invested in Roman into this program leading up to Payback.
Yeah, I agree. I loved the direction. I love the line, I'm not a good guy, I'm not a bad guy, I am the guy.
It's great.
Because that is exactly what people who don't like him don't want him to be.
Right.
I don't know if they necessarily care if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but they don't want him to be the guy. And he kept saying that. I love the little pat on the shoulder that he gave AJ, like good talk, little buddy, that type of thing.
He's the guy. He's going to be dismissive of everyone he deems under him. And right now, that's everybody. Now, what's going to happen is when John Cena comes back, if they do indeed put John Cena and Roman in the same path together, you can't be dismissive of John Cena. Or maybe he will be. Maybe he'll be like, I'm the new guy. You are the old guy. Go away, John Cena. And maybe he does that to John. And wouldn't that make excellent television, right? If Roman Reigns is back patting John Cena.
Oh, that would be unbelievable television because man, everybody said heel. To his credit, I know he gets a lot of crap, but Vince Russo was the one that said, no, he doesn't need to be a heel. I like this direction. This selfish.
He doesn't need to be a straight up heel. I mean, he can be this guy where really the fans decide what he is. He's just himself. And in reality, that's all we've wanted for the last 2 years was Roman Reigns to be himself. We don't want him to be what they've presented. If he's going to be a monster babyface, we can make him a monster babyface, as long as he is who he is. And that's what we haven't been seeing. So I'm really looking forward to it. Maybe even more so Randy Orton. When Randy Orton comes back, can you imagine Roman Reigns giving the, attaboy to Randy Orton and that kind of TV.
That's a good way to make that feud different and mean something, because Randy Orton, the legend killer, all that good stuff. And here's Roman Reigns, dismissing a guy who's been around for 14 years in the main event for a great portion of that. I love the direction with Roman Reigns. It's something that I wasn't confident that I would be saying even a few days ago. We have somebody say, Roman, he'll be yesterday's news again when Rollins comes back. You are wrong, guy.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. In fact, Rollins might be yesterday's news when Roman Reigns comes back. It'll be great. I mean, Roman has a hell of a year mapped out for him if they want to go with Roman as the guy, whether they, put him in there with Brock, whether they do John Cena, Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose again, because again, we've had a couple of Dean Ambrose Roman Reigns matches, but they've always been when they're buddies. Maybe that'll be the true, we'll find out what Roman Reigns is planned to be and what he really is if they put Dean Ambrose in there with them. Maybe Dean Ambrose wins a match at Payback, Roman Reigns wins at Payback. What are you going to do at Extreme Rules or the next pay-per-view in between SummerSlam? They could do Dean Ambrose again and really kick off wherever they want Roman Reigns to be. Are they buddies going in? Does something happen? You can get mileage out of Dean Ambrose still in the title picture, even though he lost at WrestleMania, even though he may not be in a top program leading up to Payback.
I also would love to see a thing like backstage where Dean Ambrose is like, what are you doing, man? Why are you acting like this? And Roman can throw out a little line like, I kind of understand why Seth did what he did now. And that simultaneously, while they can feud, it kind of puts them on the same page if you ever want to go back to that reunion type of thing. Because then, Roman will at least understand why he got stabbed in the back by Seth Rollins, because now he's going through a lot of things that Seth Rollins basically jumped over. He didn't have to jump through all the hoops that Roman Reigns did in storyline. So if this week is any indication, Raw and SmackDown, I like the direction of Roman Reigns.
Oh, yeah.
But but I've liked the direction of Roman Reigns a couple of times.
That's true.
And it didn't last.
It didn't last because they tried to make him, but this time he's already got the title. You're not trying to push this epic babyface to another title run. He's already got it. So hopefully this one's a little bit different. It's so funny that they waited a year and a half until after the WrestleMania moment to make him what fans wanted him to be for a long time. If the plan was always to be Roman Reigns super babyface, but people were telling you that a heel turn should come first, why not just do the heel turn first? But it's weird timing for everything. I'm loving it. There's a ton of baby faces on the roster, so really having Roman Reigns as a heel is probably, for evening the side's sake, a good idea. There's a lot you can do with this Roman Reigns, and it really is, to me, the best way to get everyone invested, because again, those ardent supporters will be with him. The people who aren't really into Roman Reigns are now going to be jumping on the bandwagon. Those who didn't ever want to care for Roman at all, no matter what, are coming on the bandwagon, because guess what? If you like AJ Styles and you want to watch an AJ Styles match on Payback, it's against Roman Reigns, so you have to care. I think it's a really good idea, and I think this Payback show is gonna do really well.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a guy that the people want to hate, just let them hate him. But I mean, his fans can still like him. There's nothing wrong with that. But just let them dislike him, and maybe somebody else can step up and be that. But that's not how Vince McMahon thinks. He wants the person that he picks to be that top babyface.
Hey, I mean, we've been praising NXT for 2 years, and guess who's writing SmackDown these days? It's Ryan Ward from NXT. So, I'm not surprised that SmackDown was such a good show tonight. I really enjoyed SmackDown because you had that Roman Reigns stuff. You had AJ Styles. You had a pretty epic main event with the same 4 guys from Raw. So if you love the Raw main event, you're going to get a lot of that on SmackDown. We talk about even the smaller things. You were talking, we were talking back and forth as we looked forward to that Raw on Monday about, the title change might be a dud. Before it happened, we knew, we heard rumblings that the title change was going to happen. And, we knew it was going to be Zack Ryder. We were rumbling that, hey, you may not like the title change, but guess what? That title is going to be more interesting on The Miz right now with Maurice back in his corner than it would have been on Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder was an epic win, a great moment at WrestleMania, but what was he going to do on TV? Outside of defending the title in regular matches, he wasn't going to have these epic programs. Whereas now The Miz is back with Maurice by his side, and Maurice is just amazing on television as a character, and she fits so well with Miz. You can tell why they get along in real life based on what their characters are on television. They're perfect for each other, and they're a great pairing. I really want to see where the IC title goes. This was a really good episode. You know, the VaudeVillains debut was what it was. It was an NXT match on SmackDown with the Lucha Dragons, but you know they probably have some type of plan for them. It may not be a big plan, and we got to see kind of this fruit being born here. And, you know, SmackDown overall, as far as a top to bottom show, I thought was better than Raw, proving that you don't need a ton of debuts and surprises to make a great show. Tonight's SmackDown was really good.
Yeah, it accomplished a lot too. In one show, you put over Apollo Crews, you forwarded this Miz Ryder thing, and you know, I think that Intercontinental title situation accomplished a lot. The title isn't on Owens and Zayn. The title does not need to be on Owens and Zayn. No. That is a very rare mid-card or upper mid-card feud that needs no stakes. They don't need that. None. They don't need it. And very rarely will you hear me say that, especially on main roster WWE. It gave Zack Ryder a WrestleMania moment. The crowd popped huge for it, bigger than I even thought they would. It made Ryder sympathetic in a way. It got The Miz a title run, and people are saying, oh, well, it's not as prestigious. No, it's not now, but hopefully it can be, because Maurice is such a crucial, important addition to the act that is The Miz.
She's great. I mean, she does that, you know, she's only going to pay attention to you if she thinks she can get something out of it. And isn't that what a heel manager should be? That's what Paul Heyman is. Paul Heyman only pays attention to Brock Lesnar opponents if he can get a win for Brock Lesnar and money out of it. That's what a heel manager should do. What it really interests me about The Miz is you talk about prestige. If you're one of those saying, oh, the Miz with the title isn't prestigious, The Miz had the WWE title, and the Intercontinental Championship hasn't been prestigious for a long time. You know, Daniel Bryan won it at WrestleMania, had to give it up the next month because he was hurt. That was supposed to be the kickstart of it getting prestigious again. Cody Rhodes had this belt not 3 years ago. This belt is the mid-card title to give the mid-carders something to do on television. And The Miz is going to do wonders with it if they stick with this program of, you know, him by his side with Maurice. There's a lot of stuff going on now. And it also shows, you know, WWE for a while wasn't in the game of having managers on television. And now you have Maurice, you have Paul Heyman when he comes back with Brock Lesnar. You don't have Zeb Coulter anymore, but who knows if he's going to come back once he's, you know, recovered from his surgery. And then I'm missing one. I'm missing another manager that's out there. Who am I missing? I'm missing an obvious one too. Paul Heyman, Maurice, and Ric Flair with Charlotte. Yeah. I mean, you're back in the game of, and yes, these guys have names, and Maurice has a name, and they were former wrestlers, but they're managers. They're seconds right now. Yes. So I'm all for Lana if she goes back in the management game and stops being
that's four pretty high caliber managers.
Yes, they're back in the management game, and you know what? I'm all for it. Yeah. No, I love the Miz character. This SmackDown blew away.
And with Maurice, you know, you have The Miz saying he's a movie star, all that. Maurice is going to be on the new season of Total Divas, and you can, you know, have him saying, well, my wife is a reality star, yada, yada, yada. Speaking of Total Divas, I don't watch the show, but the casting, very interesting. Alicia Fox off, Rosa Mendes off. Probably most interestingly, Rosa Mendes off. You think she's gone?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Total Divas, who knows what keeps her around in the company? She's been there for so long, longer than you think. If you go back and look when Rosa Mendes started, it's longer than you think. It doesn't look like she's going to come back with Primo and Epico. So really, what's the point? They have so many women on the rise, not only to the main roster from NXT, but also in NXT from developmental, people you haven't seen on television yet, and new signings coming in. There's no reason to keep her around. Her time is just gone.
Somebody says, I hate how Ryder has been screwed.
He hasn't been screwed. He won a big match that'll get remembered at WrestleMania 32, the biggest WrestleMania of all time. We got to stop talking about being screwed.
I mean, he was screwed 4 years ago, but that was the last time he was really screwed. I think Rosa Mendes is toast, and you know, people are saying, well, she's saying that she'll be back. I'm sure she does say that. And you know what? I'd be very surprised if we ever saw her on TV in any capacity again. She cannot wrestle. She cannot talk. She cannot manage. She isn't good as a backstage announcer. They tried that. Didn't work. A decade she has been there. A decade. And I don't know if anybody who has been there a decade all due respect to her, maybe she's a kind woman. I hate that I have to preface that as if we're attacking them personally. But
from all people I talk to and from people and things that are out there, she is incredibly nice and they really like her. But I mean, as far as the talent in the ring, she serves no purpose.
I mean, maybe she could be an ambassador or something. I don't want anybody to lose their job, but I can't think of anybody from a talent perspective who has been under a contract for as long and has produced such little, of anything. Can you think of anybody?
I mean, that's been around that long? Not really. I mean, she's really done nothing. So most people who do that little don't get to stick around for a while. I mean, JTG was around for quite some time, but at least he had a run. He had runs. I mean, I'm pretty sure they got to be tag champions, right? And they were on TV in prominent roles.
No, they didn't. They never won the tag belts.
They never won the tag titles. Well, there you go. There you go. Crime time. They at least stole them one time.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
they found them.
They did
and just happened to pick them
much more than Rosa. They were in that little segment with Cena and things like that.
I got to tell you what, though. I got to tell you what. I'm really distracted by it. I wished I lived in North Carolina tonight because Shinsuke Nakamura made his live event debut for NXT tonight.
He did.
In North Carolina. A main event. Get this main event: Finn Balor and Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ty Dillinger and Baron Corbin.
Interesting. Oh, Baron Corbin's still working NXT live events.
Baron Corbin working the NXT live event tonight. And we got, I mean, there's some interesting stuff going on. I like how they're doing it in NXT with promoting house show to house show. You know, they do change up the cards a little bit from house show to house show. You know, they had Eva Marie steal Asuka's women's title tonight on the North Carolina show, so that tomorrow when they do Eva Marie versus Asuka for the title, it now has a little bit of heat behind it. Yes. So I like how they do this. I mean, Austin Aries versus La Sombra on a live event. If you have the chance to go to NXT shows, those live events are really the ones you want to go to.
Oh, even the show that you went to in Indianapolis, Finn Balor had been hurt before that. And what you all got was something that nobody else will probably ever get. And that was what Bayley doing the Finn Balor entrance for him.
We had Bayley do Finn Balor's entrance for him so that the people could get the entrance. They did the hug-a-thon. It was, I think, one of the first times they did that. It was really cool special, but I also got to see a match that no one will ever get to see unless it's on a best of somewhere. Maybe the Greatest Hits Volume 2 for NXT. The best 2 of 3 falls with the Revival against American Alpha. A better match than what I saw at NXT Dallas, which was still a really good match.
The match was a little overrated at Dallas. I thought it was a little overrated, and I liked the match. Really good.
It wasn't great. You could see some spots where, you know, people either they were just nervous or it just didn't flow.
It got 4 or 4.25 stars in the Observer. I was very surprised at that.
I mean, I like Dave, but I quit caring about Dave Meltzer star ratings quite some time ago. I use them as a recommendation. Like if you know Dave Meltzer and you want a recommendation for a match and you like his recommendations, I'll use those. But as far as telling you what a good match is, I don't agree with the recommendations all the time.
Now, speaking of Dave, and I want to also say I respect Dave. He is, you know, the godfather of what he does. A giant number of our stories come from Dave Meltzer. I don't like the, Meltzer's always wrong, all that crap that I have to deal with all the time. That is not true. But one of the things that he wrote in this week's Observer was the thing about Bayley. Did you see that? Where he said that Bayley only has a few more years to bank on her gimmick because she's 26 now and can play 18, which I didn't know she was playing 18 years old. But they can only cash in on that demographic while she's seen as the cool sister, not the cool aunt.
He's been beating that drum for about 2 years, really, once the Bayley popularity rose. He's been beating the drum that, you know, she plays this superhero to the little girls, but eventually as she's in her 30s, she's going to stop being a superhero to little girls. And I don't necessarily agree with that one bit either.
Everything made sense to me. The 96 Hulk Hogan term made so much more sense to me when I realized that 1995 was the year that Hulk Hogan was able to stop playing an 18-year-old.
Well, that's not a fair comparison either, because Hulk Hogan was never, you know, going to the kids. He was always going to the you know, the high teens and the young adults and whatnot.
Was he? The kids loved him. The
kids loved him too. The kids loved him too, and he was playing in the 80s. He was absolutely playing that, but he wasn't. I mean, in a way, you're kind of right, because Bayley can play that way, but she does the ponytail. She's acting. Her persona is that she's younger. you know, and an up-and-comer and the underdog. But I mean, she's John Cena at the same time, right? You want to be this hero to kids. You don't have to look like a kid to be a hero. Yeah. I think part of his point is that she relates to those young kids, but he's going by looks. She relates because, you know, she's nice to people. She wants to compete. She wants to be the best. It's not all about how she looks. And I don't necessarily agree with the fact that she's only got 2 years more of shelf life for this character. She can go a long time with this character. Yeah. It's all about how they start this character on the main roster. Because remember, Bayley didn't just start as a good wrestler in NXT who was likable. She started as someone who was learning. She was basically a student on television. Like, that was her gimmick, that she was new. She's not as good as everyone, but she's going to work hard to get there. And on the main roster, if she's not working hard to get there and she's already there, I think that hurts her more with the fan base than just being, you know, looking 30.
Yeah, I agree. Also on this show, what else do we have? The VaudeVillains debut. Why did Kalisto eat the pin in this match? Does that make any sense?
I don't necessarily know if it makes sense other than the fact that he's a singles champion and this is a tag match. And sometimes, you know, you can relate. You know, New Japan does this all the time where the tag matches for single stars don't mean the same because it's a whole different ball game. It's really a different arena. So they just don't mean the same. But in WWE, that's not established. Like, it is weird that the bigger star is eating the pin for the smaller star. I think it was done to add emphasis. Like, this is the VaudeVillains. They just beat the US champion, so they must be taken seriously. I think that's all it is. It wasn't so much, you know, why did Kalisto lose? But, oh my God, the VaudeVillains pinned the US champion.
I think it's a pretty good way to look at things. Somebody asks, will Emma team with Zack Ryder against Maurice and Miz? No, I doubt it.
It looks like that's completely out. It looks like that's not even something they're considering. I think Zack Ryder is out of the program right now. I think we're going to find someone else for the Miz to go up against coming up soon, and I would not be shocked at all if that's Cesaro.
That would be very interesting. I'm sure that Cesaro could get some good matches out of Miz too.
Well, he's also, I mean, Cesaro is the odd man out. No, I mean, if you do put Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and you have AJ Styles go into the title picture and you do Chris Jericho, Dean Ambrose, the odd man out is Cesaro. So why not put him in the IC title mix with the Miz?
Also today, we learned about the death of Blackjack Mulligan. You know, he's got ties that have literally lasted from the time that he got into the ring into today. He's the father of Barry and Kendall Windham. He's the father-in-law of Mike Rotunda, who is the IRS, and he is the grandfather of Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas. Now he was way before my time. Any memories or anything of that looking back on Blackjack Mulligan in his career?
Not really. I mean, he's one of those, and you really had a lot of them back in the day. He was one of those who was a tough guy, and tough guys got over because you're going to a wrestling show wanting to see tough guys. You know, you want to see tough guys brawl with each other. I think because of that, he has a rep of being one of the toughest ever, which is always fun because, you know, still today we're all marks, right? We all believe that, you know, anything can happen. We all believe that Meng is going to beat up everybody in the locker room.
Brock Lesnar, as somebody was arguing with me earlier.
Well, I mean, Brock Lesnar's a legit tough guy. You have the legit ones who have actually proven it.
I had people arguing that Meng could beat up Brock Lesnar in a bar fight, and I'm like, no.
At no point in Meng's life would he have beaten up Brock Lesnar at any point in Brock Lesnar's life, unless it was, you know, prepubescent. It just wasn't.
Maybe when he was on anesthesia, when he was having his butthole surgically removed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a great image for everybody. Yeah, but Blackjack Mulligan, I mean, you look at him, you saw the clips. Thankfully, they got their Hall of Fame moment, right? So while you may not consider the WWE Hall of Fame to be real or significant, at least it does give you a chance to go and see the careers of the older generations, give you a sense of history, see the cool moments. And then maybe if you want to go back and look at more, you can do so on the network now. I mean, this WWE Hall of Fame is a great marketing tool for them. Like, look at all this old footage, look at the old stars. We have a place where you can go watch them all. But it is for the current generation a chance to see who was here before. And I always get a kick out of that. I really do like it. But yeah, Blackjack Mulligan's been sick for a couple of months now. He was fighting blood clots, you know, for the last 2 months. So I'm glad, you know, a couple of 2 months ago when the Wyatt family missed Raw, it was so they can go and visit him in the hospital. So at least they got those final moments with him. But yeah, it's always a shame when you see someone of the past go, but it's a part of life. It's going to happen.
He definitely wasn't a work rate type of guy, but he is the kind of guy that if he walked into the Performance Center, it's the person that, Triple H and Vince McMahon would be like, okay, let's give this guy a go. 6 foot, build at 6'9" and 300 and some pounds. Was a fixture in the NWA, won the WWF tag titles with Blackjack Lanza, and in the Hall of Fame, as you mentioned. So very, very sad to see him go. And 73. He lived a long life, but would have been nice to see him hit 83 or 93. Very unfortunate. Don't know the status of Bray and Bo Dallas for any upcoming events or anything like that. We had our own Raj Giri breaking some news. Well, not giant news, but some exclusive stuffs. Seth Rollins was backstage at WrestleMania. He was limping, but people have been saying that he will be back maybe as soon as next month. Anyway, he's filming a movie starting yesterday. When do you think we'll see Seth Rollins back?
SummerSlam. I think his first match back will be SummerSlam. If he's still limping now after a surgery like that, he's not going to be back in 1 month. I mean, if he's limping right now, he's not getting in the ring, getting ready. It's not going to happen. Now, was he kayfabing people? I mean, I don't think a lot of this current generation goes that far to kayfabe people. If he's limping now, he's not going to be back anytime soon. People want to be optimistic, but no, I think SummerSlam is probably the right way to bring him back. I think even vignetting his return, doing something they don't do a lot of. Seth Rollins is coming back. Make it like Triple H coming back at the Royal Rumble before WrestleMania 18. Make it that big of a deal. Let the people build up a groundswell of support for him, because he will come back as a babyface. He just will. Whether that lasts for a month, 1 day, a year, who knows? But he should come back as a babyface. He should have a really big spot. Maybe even put him in the title match. Who knows? But it's probably too early to bring him back for SummerSlam, because he's a guy that you don't want to re-injure quickly. You want to give him some time.
Yeah, I love the surprises that WWE does and stuff, but they almost do it to a fault where it can cost them money and cost them ratings. Like, not everything has to be a surprise. Like, of all the things, maybe you're giving vignettes to the VaudeVillains and Golden Truth, but not to a lot of guys who are coming back. And some people might be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to tune in to watch that. I'm going to make sure I'm at home to see that.
I love surprise returns. Surprise returns are great. You want to see them. A Cesaro can come back as a surprise, and that's really cool. In fact, it makes some of the guys who are maybe mid-carders or less than, top guys, makes them feel more important when it's a surprise return. The problem is you cost yourself a little bit if you don't return the main eventers with a little bit of hype. Just a little bit. You can build up the return of Seth Rollins, make a story out of it, get people interested in a pay-per-view match of him. I don't need to see him come out at the end of Raw and, just be a shock. I like when they build up these returns like Triple H did. You should start seeing videos of him right now, honestly. You should see the rehab videos. You should see all this stuff. I don't agree with the philosophy that you keep him out of TV completely so he's out of mind, out of sight, and that you forget about him. So when he returns, it is a big, giant surprise. Let people know that he's still around. Let people remember what he went through so that you're like, oh, yeah, I miss Seth Rollins. I can't wait to see him back. Oh, now he's going to come back in a month. I want to see that match.
Speaking of surprises, DDP, Mick Foley, Shawn Michaels, John Cena all showed up at WrestleMania Sunday, and they have all been users of DDP Yoga. That's right. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. DDPyoga.com/Wrestling Inc. I use it myself personally. Help me recover from a very nasty neck injury. Help me avoid surgery even. And you don't have to be a giant superstar like Mick Foley or Shawn Michaels to use it. I've used it. We've all seen the story of the military veteran Arthur, who was unable to walk without the aid of his crutches and is now running and actually works for DDP Yoga. DDPyoga.com/Wrestling Inc. Go there, get a great deal on the Max Pack. Tweet DDP or DDP Yoga. Let them know that Wrestling Inc. sent you. Also, if you haven't, please check out The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, an excellent documentary that you can find on Vudu, Amazon, PlayStation Network, Google Play, iTunes, all over the place on VOD. I highly recommend The Resurrection of Jake the Snake, one of my favorite wrestling documentaries. And to transition out of the ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc segment there, what would you say is your favorite wrestling documentary, Rob? Not including The Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
I tell you what, the biggest surprise about that was how short that segment was. ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. My favorite documentary, I really like the CM Punk one. The Best in the World CM Punk WWE one was fantastic. The Rise and Fall of ECW was one that, even if you're familiar with the history of ECW, was still kind of eye-opening in parts and really interesting.
An underrated companion piece is, I want to say Jeremy Borash put it together, Forever Hardcore. Did you watch that?
I didn't. At that point, I really liked the WWE one, and I didn't need to see more of them because the Forever Hardcore, while it had some of the names that the WWE one probably should have had, it didn't come off as well. I am a snob a little bit. I like those that look more professional, and it just looked a lot more professional than the Forever Hardcore.
Well, the best part about it is just hearing New Jack talking about stabbing people.
Yeah, and I didn't really need to hear that because that's not what ECW was. New Jack was a
little bit.
No, it really wasn't.
At least one time.
Yeah, one time. But I mean, you're making a small part of what ECW was, and that's certainly not what ECW meant to people. The WWE one did a better job of encapsulating what ECW meant to people. They really did. You got to give them credit. They did a really good job with that DVD. And the Forever Hardcore, for the little bits and pieces I saw, for the little teasers for the DVD, for the values. I don't want to say it wasn't good, but it certainly wasn't as good as the WWE one.
Barbed Wire City was a good ECW one as well.
And that one I have no comment on because I just haven't seen anything about that one.
Yeah, they were able to use ECW footage because I think they did it with RF video, and RF had some old tapes or something. You know what I found interesting, because I collect pro wrestling documentaries and DVDs. Just bought the Sheik documentary at Walmart. Probably won't even watch it, but the WWE history of WWE documentary is about an hour and 40 minutes long, but their ECW documentary is like 2.5, 3 hours long. Little weird.
Yeah, not really. Sometimes you just go with what you think is going to sell, and you have to realize what the audience is you're selling it to. There's a reason why you have a documentary about Randy Orton that goes 90 minutes versus an ECW one that's 3 hours. Because the ECW fans that are going to buy that are more hardcore. They're more apt to watch a longer presentation. If you're someone who's going to buy the Randy Orton documentary, you probably aren't paying attention for more than 90 minutes. So they kind of base that on what their research tells them, what the buying audience is like.
Yeah, I agree. Also, hopefully, I was actually disappointed a few years ago. The Big Show had a pretty decent documentary. It was about 60 minutes long, but a lot of his best work happened after that. So I'm sure he'll get a much longer one as he retires, whenever he retires. Also, of course, Raj Giri, which we mentioned yesterday, reported that Bobby Roode had, in fact, signed with WWE. We talked about that on last night's podcast. So if you didn't check that out, be sure to do so, because on the Wednesday shows, we talk a lot of NXT, New Japan, Lucha Underground, TNA, the things that we don't always have time to get to on our Monday and Thursday shows. And we always have people saying, why didn't you cover how terrible Josh Matthews is all the time? Well, by God, we did it last night, Rob.
Oh, we did. And then someone tweeted and tagged him in a tweet with us about how we bashed him. You know what? How's this for fun radio? I'm going to go see if he's blocked me yet.
Yeah, I want to see.
I don't even know how to spell this loser's name. How do you spell Josh Matthews?
Come on now.
Is it real Josh Matthews, as if he's worried about someone impersonating him?
I need to do that. Actually, I do have an impersonator.
It is at real Josh Matthews, just in case you're worried that you're following the wrong Josh Matthews. Yeah, he has not tweeted since the tweet with us and him tagged in it was available. So maybe he just hasn't checked his Twitter yet. I don't know. Maybe he is too busy wondering what he's going to do with his life.
Wheeling and dealing. I wish I could elaborate on these negotiations, but I can't without outing the company that he negotiated with. But Rob, I can tell you, it was, from what I was told, The negotiating tactics were among some of the worst of all time. Pretty
Wouldn't
bad.
be shocked. I mean, wouldn't be surprised. This guy, what negotiating experience does he have? Maybe he has some, but this guy was a commentator for WWE for a long time. He has negotiating a reason why they should have kept him on the job. But that's about it.
They have a lot of issues in TNA. A lot
more issues, and they have really good talent. Less of it now. Most of their top talent has gone on to WWE, but they have some good talent there. They have some people watching the show still. They have ardent supporters. I mean, if you go to TNAmecca.com and you can see. No,
please don't go there. Why would you tell people to do that? For one, it's a competing website, but two, oh my God, you don't want to be there. Well, no, don't go to TNAmecca.com.
Yeah,
what you need to do is go to what's their Twitter handle? Fun TNA or TNA Mecca quotes on Twitter.
That's much more. Yeah, you're gonna see the best parts of the TNA crazies.
Boy, there are TNA fans, and then there are TNA fans.
They're TNA fanatics in all sense of the word. No, instead of doing that, go to @ShakeThemRopes on Twitter, twitter.com/ShakeThemRopes. Follow me, interact. Tell me how great I am on this podcast, as I apparently am the babyface, which is a crazy thing. I'm going to be a big show here where I just turn every once in a while.
Let's be real. I've got the overexposure thing going for me. I'm on 3 shows a week, Rob, but you're on 2 with me.
I'm on 2 with you, and then I'm usually on 2 a week with that I host myself. So I mean, it's true. It's a little bit different. Slowly working so I get all these fans to follow me over there, and vice versa, get all my people to follow you. It's a symbiotic relationship we got here going on. But yeah, this week we've been totally overexposed. I did 3 shows over WrestleMania weekend, and then these 2 with you. So way overexposed. I don't blame anyone for tuning out. But hey, SmackDown was a good show tonight. I'm not surprised if we have quite a few listeners tonight, because that SmackDown really it put some life into WWE for me a little bit.
Yeah, one of the only things I didn't really like on the show was the Baron Corbin promo. I think the pre-cut vignettes of him are much better, where they have him talking in like a dark room and things like that. Not cutting this, it's the end of days, I'm bound to being a 6-man with the Ascension promos. That was really the only thing I didn't like. Otherwise, I liked the show. Owens and Jericho are hilarious together.
Yeah.
They are just fantastic. I really like it. Somebody says, does Rob have a podcast? No, he doesn't. He's never done podcasting before.
Visit me at Shake Them Ropes. You'll get all the information.
Somebody says, who do you think TNA missed the boat on the most? Ooh, that's a tough one. Like ever? I don't know if it's like the biggest, but Monty Brown was one they missed the boat on.
Monty Brown was a big one, because you can actually put that on WWE too, that they missed the boat with Monty Brown. I mean, talk about a guy, but WWE, they may have found him at some point, but he left. He had to take care of his family, so things came up. I don't know. Part of me wants to say AJ Styles, even though I don't really believe that, because obviously they made AJ Styles and he was a big part of the company, but at the same time, maybe he could have been even bigger.
Like how many
New Japan did with him
at the top in that company? I don't know. I mean, that one he was on looked like he was doing well.
Who? What'd you say?
So, the one that he was on as he left was an interesting one. It's one they hadn't done before, but he did go to the top several times, so it's hard for me to say that they missed the boat on him.
AJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said it. Like, part of me feels like they missed the boat on him, but at the same time, you look at his history, and I don't know if you can actually call them missing the boat on AJ Styles. They're doing their best with Ethan Carter. He's probably a guy that's outlived his potential in TNA. He probably has more potential in WWE. He's a guy that seems fit for them. I don't know. They try a lot. They try a lot with the guys. I guess what you could really say they missed the boat on, if you want to look at it this way, because they're one of the biggest stars in independent wrestling right now, is they completely killed the Young Bucks. And look at how big they are right now. They had the Young Bucks in their, short of their prime, where they could have built a lot around them. And TNA they were no strangers to building around tag teams. You look at America's Most Wanted. You look at the tag team Elix Skipper was in really early on.
Triple X,
that's right. They really did build around tag teams, but for some reason they didn't want to give it to the Young Bucks, because the Young Bucks were kind of this current personality who thought they should have been important, but they hadn't earned it yet, and now they have, so they can do whatever they want. But yeah, building around the tag team division, whether it was Motor City Machine Guns or the Young Bucks, was probably their biggest failing, because look at where the Young Bucks are now. They're selling merch like crazy, and that could have all been with TNA.
You mentioned Elix Skipper. Whatever happened to him? I know he was much older than people had originally thought. But
he was just a guy who ran his course in wrestling and was too old to do what he was doing before.
I feel like, his son, unfortunately, was shot. And I think I haven't heard of him being in wrestling since then.
We have
that was 2009, and he got released from TNA in 2008, but he was still around a little bit here and there. But I haven't seen anything of him since then.
Yeah, no, I think he probably worked some early shows. He was from the South, so I see him on independent shows. When he first left TNA, he was around places. But he was probably just a guy who, his time in wrestling had come to an end. And, sometimes that happens. Look, this weekend we saw Ray Gordy, the son of the late Terry Gordy. He was Jesse in WWE. His time in wrestling came up and he got a real job. Sometimes you just get out of wrestling. It does happen. We had Alpha in the chat say they also missed the boat on James Storm. I don't buy that for 1 second. He's probably outkicked his coverage. TNA probably gave him more than what he was actually due. But yeah, EC3 is a guy that I don't think they missed the boat on, because he's really good. He's good in TNA right now. They haven't missed the boat. They're doing what they can with him.
I remember the insult that I saw about AMW in their TNA run that really stuck with me, and not that it was true. I just thought it was funny. Somebody on a message board called him Fat HBK and Redneck Edge, and I was like, well, I mean, you could do worse in your career, I guess. Ironically,
which one was supposed to be Fat HBK?
That's the thing. You look back now, which one was which?
Yeah, I guess James Storm could have been both of them.
You know what? Chris Harris could have been both of them.
Yeah.
How about that?
I think Chris Harris was short Mike Awesome.
So about Chris Harris, he worked in Indy.
He's from around you.
Yeah, he worked in Indy out here, and it got quite a few people here because it's when TNA was pretty hot. Like, I want to say 06. So TNA was okay. They had some buzz around them. They didn't have the it wasn't like how some people go to TNA now and they kind of have a stink on them to some people. There wasn't really any of that. So it's like TNA star there. Cool. He came and worked, and I'm sure you know how the trick goes, Rob. You've been around. The 2-minute challenge match.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy. That's a way to get your check and go. The person said, if anybody can beat me in 2 minutes, yada, yada, yada. And, of course, Chris Harris comes out. He works his 90-second match, and he goes back and drinks his beer. Is normal. Hate that. I hate that. But then again, I watched Al Snow, and it wasn't Al Snow. It was Eugene and somebody here work a match for 20 minutes, and about 12 of it was Eugene trying to shove his thumb up his opponent's ass, because that's what a lot of low-level indies are. It's a nonstop comedy thing, and maybe kids will like it, but man, the parents who paid for the tickets weren't too happy.
We have on Twitter at Shakedown Ropes. Jeff writes in that TNA missed the boat on CM Punk, which they did.
Yes, they did.
Kazuchika Okada, which they absolutely did. Okado, if you remember. And one that I don't necessarily know, because they kind of pushed him a couple of times, and then he, was going to go to WWE and he got hurt. He had a lot of different things going on with his, with his brain, really. But Nigel McGuinness was in TNA, and a guy that seemed to have a ton of potential. Desmond.
Oh, they wanted to do big things with him.
They wanted to do big things. I remember that story where they did the poll when they were doing live shows. They did the polls where you can go online and vote who you wanted to give a title shot to, and they were clearly building it around one person. I don't know who it was, and then Desmond Wolfe won because he was new there and he had the internet support. So they gave Desmond Wolfe a title shot, and he lost it right away and then was never seen again. So obviously they didn't want to make him the guy at that point, but he did have a lot of potential. But they missed the boat on him just because he couldn't go to wrestling anymore. He had to quit shortly after that. He just couldn't wrestle anymore.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I didn't tell you all. If you are watching the YouTube stream of this, give us a thumbs up on there. Also, subscribe to Wrestling Inc. We've got all kinds of stuff on the YouTube page. If you're listening on iTunes, leave us a positive review, a 5-star review, please. Somebody says, what is the best case scenario for Styles versus Reigns and worst case scenario? I'll tell you what the worst case scenario is, something I thought up the other day. What if this is all a smokescreen and there will be no Styles Reigns match? It's just a way for Triple H to come back, attack AJ Styles, because they think that will be a way to get people to cheer Reigns and boo Triple H. I would hope they're not that dumb.
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to keep guessing what they're going to do with all these different situations, because there really are a number of directions they can go. And it's to the point now where, let's let it play out. We don't know what's going to happen. One question we had in the chat room too, which we should probably get to, because we've attacked it from a couple of different angles. You attacked it Monday, we attacked it on Wednesday. Like the Balor Club didn't show up this week. Another one that people are hitting Dave Meltzer on, because Dave Meltzer, put his reputation on the Balor Club coming in by Monday, and they didn't, obviously.
Well, I mean, they were there. They were at Raw.
Well, they were there, but they've been there for a month. They didn't show up on TV. So what is going to happen with the Balor Club, and will we even get a Balor Club? Now, one thing, you should go back and listen to the show on Wednesday, guys, because one thing Sean and I talked about is, could Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows not even come in as a Balor Club? Could they be backup for Roman Reigns? Could they be backup for AJ Styles? But could AJ Styles turn heel at Payback and get the Balor Club on his side, and they would be named something else? Still in a Bullet Club type role, but you get the most recent iteration of what the Bullet Club was and call them something else. There's a lot of different possibilities they can do. But do you think, Sean, that we're actually going to get, by this name, because we're not talking about Carl Anderson and Doc coming in, because that will happen at some point. Do you think we're actually going to get them in a Balor Club as a faction?
I'm about 50-50 on it now. And credit to, if I pronounce this right, Muwalimu Clark, who first put that in my head about the Roman Empire deal.
Yeah.
I think it's 50-50 now, because I think they're both really good ideas. But if you want to portray them as baby faces, you put them with Balor. If you want them as big heels, you put them with Reigns.
Yeah. And they work better as heels. They really do.
They do. Well, they work really well as heels. I think they're two of the more entertaining heels in the world, actually, because those two guys are full of character. They have WWE Network TV show written all over them. Both of them do.
It should be known, too. Like, people talk about what they might be called. And, Finn Balor was teasing a bunch of different things, which when Finn Balor teases something, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means that's what's been talked about, or he's just trolling. So there could be a number of different things before someone debuts. Before they debut, it doesn't matter what happens. They have to debut, and you have to actually see it in real life. But people talk about this Bulletproof Balor Club name as being a name for the group. And it should be noted that they haven't trademarked any such phrase. And having the name of Bullet and Club in a professional wrestling area could still be cause for a trademark suit. It really could, because you have the names Bullet and Club. So it would be tough. New Japan could bring action for something like that. So I don't necessarily know if that was ever going to be a plan anyway. But I'm growing skeptical a little bit if they would actually come up as the Balor Club, because you don't need to put Finn Balor with them. They can be a tag team on their own, or they can find someone else to back up. They don't need to be with Finn Balor. It's
like there are three really good options, which, they've got history with AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and they could create history with Roman Reigns. Somebody on Twitter asked me, you keep pointing out bad things TNA did. What about somebody they absolutely scored with? Introducing Samoa Joe was unbelievable.
Samoa Joe was a big win.
They hit it out of the park with Samoa Joe.
They did really well with Samoa Joe. What I like about what TNA did with Samoa Joe was they gave him the first program with Kurt Angle, because that really benefited both guys. It benefited Kurt. It benefited Samoa Joe.
And he was riding a giant undefeated streak too.
Yeah, and Samoa Joe had a name on the indies from ROH, but TNA made him a bigger deal to where, WWE wanted him. Samoa Joe they did really well with. I think they did really well, obviously, with Kurt Angle. I mean, WWE didn't want him anymore, and TNA kept him in the mainstream for a long period of time. So they did really well with him. But think of how big Jeff Hardy as a star was with WWE. And then he goes to TNA, and I bet there's a large number of WWE fans that don't even know Jeff Hardy's been wrestling for 10 years. You know, they might have thought he just went away and disappeared. They haven't really made anyone a mainstream star, and they don't have the platform to do it. So it's not their fault necessarily. They just don't have the platform to make someone a mainstream star. Even when TNA wrestlers, you know, the big names they brought in, the Hulk Hogans, the Stings, whenever someone would write about them, whether it was TMZ or they went on a news program, they were always called WWE wrestlers or pro wrestlers. They weren't called TNA wrestlers on the whole. So I can't give them credit for really making anyone huge. We go back to recent examples, maybe Ethan Carter III, because Ethan Carter III was a no-name developmental guy, and now he can go on indies. His price is a little bit higher. He's got a name value behind him. Ethan Carter III might be one of the top options for guys they really did make.
And, you know, there were examples on both ends. I mean, there were a lot of people that looked at Ken Kennedy as a guy WWE missed on. As it turns out, they didn't. They didn't miss on him because
he outkicked his coverage in WWE too, because he was a nobody. I mean, he was a nobody on the independent scene. He just had a pretty good look, and he was a little bit bigger. But he didn't have the work ethic in ring, which I'm not even saying you have to have all the time. He just didn't want to be a really good pro wrestler. He wanted to be an 80s wrestler. He was a guy that wanted to, you know, he looked tough in the bar, and he was going to go in the ring because he can make money as a pro wrestler. That doesn't always work nowadays. You can't really do that in WWE these days. Even those who do look the part and look like that tough, badass guy have to be a little bit more than that in the ring. So
also, according to RVD, that's how he acts backstage too, is that in the timeline, the kayfabe commentaries thing, he said that he thought that Kennedy was actually making fun of somebody because he was so full of himself backstage.
That it had to be like a joke that he was mocking somebody because no one could act like that in real life.
Yeah. He thought it was like a parody.
Yeah.
But anything else to leave? I don't want to end this fun banter-filled show because we didn't have a lot to talk about this week. Rarely does that happen, Rob.
Nope.
Especially after WrestleMania.
We had a good amount, but we got to a lot of it on the Wednesday show. Tonight's SmackDown, while it was a good show, wasn't necessarily newsworthy for anything. It just kind of followed up from all the news that happened on Raw. So kind of tough to talk about things you like when nothing is necessarily newsworthy. I will say if you want to expand your horizons a little bit, New Japan's Invasion Attack is coming up on Sunday. It'll be Sunday morning in the US. You can watch it for just under $9 a month on New Japan World, NJPW.
I'll be covering it. We'll be there. We'll have a live viewing party on Twitter, on the site, all kinds of stuff. And of course, myself and Rob will be talking about it next week.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it next week. If you're a WWE fan and want to know, okay, how does this relate to me? You got the former Camacho from NXT fame is going to be debuting in New Japan on this show. You have Meng's other son, Tama Tonga, on the show. They're tag teaming. And the Young Bucks, who we mentioned. The Young Bucks will be defending Sean's favorite belts, the never open weight 6-man tag team titles.
I love those titles.
Evan Bourne from WWE fame, Ricochet, who you're going to see on your network probably pretty soon, and the former CJ Parker and not Pamela Anderson. CJP is going to be on this show, Juice Robinson. So there's
quick people keep asking why Cesaro does the tearaway suit. It's because he's the Swiss Superman, you guys.
It's because he's the Swiss Superman. He is Clark Kent when he's wearing the suit, and then he goes into battle and saves the world by ripping off the suit, going into his disguise. So he's the Swiss Superman. And that's what Superman does. He rips off the suit.
Indeed. Guys, be sure to check out ddpyoga.com/wrestling. I had a fun time on the banter-filled podcast. Like I said, usually by Thursday, I'm like, what the hell are we going to talk about? Because, you know, we get the non-Monday Night Raw stuff on Wednesday. Well, non-main roster stuff, I should say. But usually something happens on a Thursday. But we just kind of got to shoot the breeze today.
Oh, it was fun. I like these Thursday shows because, we just kind of go into wrestling. We're not formatted too much. Very seamless transition into the ddpyoga.com/wrestling inc. Very quick on the trendybutler.com/wrestling10. So you got your plugs in there.
There's no slash. That's a code.
Oh, trendybutler.com.
Yeah, you get $10 off your order.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better with the live reads here. You know, I'm new to the live reads, so I'm doing my part. At Shake Them Ropes on Twitter. I will be tweeting, on Sunday with Invasion Attack. I'm sure we'll be talking some WWE stuff, and you can follow me for all the fun.
Oh, wait, we do have one more thing to talk about.
God,
one last thing. I forgot.
How did we forget about the rise and the fall of Summer Rae on tonight's
No, UFC 200. UFC 200. Miesha Tate versus Amanda Nunes. Well, first off, I'll say this. Miesha Tate is a very beatable opponent, but if she lasts past the first round, she's going to win this fight because Amanda Nunes has no gas tank. Were you surprised that they made this? Because Rousey's not going to be ready until the fall. Holly Holm, the reason I was told one of the reasons that they didn't book that is because she didn't defend her title successfully. And that for that, I understand. Ronda Rousey defended her title 7 times. So that rematch, I get. She's the reason that women are in the spot in the UFC they are right now. But that's a second title fight. And by the end of the show, it'll be 3 champions on the card because there's an interim title fight and Conor McGregor is fighting in a non-title bout. What did you think of that booking?
I'm retweeting a picture right now at Shake Them Ropes on Twitter. I'm retweeting a picture from tonight's North Carolina NXT show where Finn Balor continues to troll, holding up a fan sign that says, "Where is Doc and Carl? BC for life." So Finn Balor with the hilarity. After thinking about it, I'm not surprised because now if Amanda Nunes wins, they can go to Holly Holm and Ronda in the rematch, which doesn't need the title for it. That's a sellable fight. If Miesha Tate wins, then you can do Ronda Rousey after that if you want to, and then do Rousey Holm again if you want to. There's possibilities there.
There's
whatever
a
may
million
happen.
Possibilities because Rousey will sell against anybody. If they look to Madison Square Garden and said, "Oh well, Amanda Nunes won, so Nunes is going to fight Rousey," that's still selling. And below that, you can have the Holm Tate rematch to see who fights Ronda because both of those matches are going to sell too.
There's a lot of fights that can sell. Most of them have something to do with Ronda Rousey because people want to see her back in the ring. I don't know how long she's going to be out. She kind of has control like Conor McGregor does. She can be out as long as she wants to because they kind of have to play nice with her. They can't force her into fighting. She gets to kind of run, what she wants to do. So, UFC 200 looks like a really good card up and down. I don't think people have to freak out because it's not, oh my God, the biggest show of all time. It's going to be fine. And the number will sell it. It really will. It's at the right time. The number is the right number. It'll be fine. What I think I'm more interested in with UFC is the fact that, hey, CM Punk is tweeting about hockey nonstop. He's tweeting all day long too. When's he getting into the training camp? CM Punk, I think this summer's going to go by and it's going to be like, oh man, another 2 years went by and I didn't fight. Maybe I should just go back to my wife, play some video games and talk to Scott.
On that note, that's it for the Wrestling Inc. podcast.
That's where you should have hit the button. Hit the button that says go off air. That's the hot ending right there.
DDPyoga.com/Wrestling Inc. Please support the podcast. Like I said, tweet them, let them know we sent you.
Thumbs
Join
up.
me Sunday morning. Rob, when does that show start? 3 a.m. Eastern or 4 a.m.
That show, I believe, is going to start at 3 a.m. Eastern. Should be 3 a.m. Eastern.
And then that following afternoon, I might even hop on the Wrestling Inc. account and live tweet the UFC fight night from Zagreb, Croatia. I don't know if Raj will want me to do that or not. An uneventful Sunday after that. But guys, thank you so much for supporting the podcast. Love you guys. We are done.
Bye.